I don't think I've talked about it before, but I have a tendency to get really into MMOs.
It started way back in 2004 with World of Warcraft. I picked it up day one and was instantly in love. I made a dwarf. I adventured my way through Dun Moreau and finally made it to the dwarven capital of Ironforge, only to realize that my shitty dial-up internet couldn't handle all the people, and so my dwarf fell into the moat, and he lived there forever. Until I deleted him. But the whole time I played, I couldn't help but wonder, wouldn't it be cool if I lived here? Wouldn't it be cool if...
We're talking about Sword Art Online.
So if you've been living under a rock for the last 6 years or just don't pay attention to anime, this probably isn't the video for you. Sword Art Online, or SAO, is a light novel turned anime that's been infecting discussion boards everywhere since at least 2012.
Just to be perfectly clear, leaving absolutely no room for interpretation,
I fucking love Sword Art Online's first 3 episodes. And here's why. First, we're introduced to Shut-In Kazuto and his in-game avatar Kirito as he begins playing the hot new virtual reality MMO known as Sword Art Online. He spends his first day helping a new player get used to the systems of the game, and as a result, introducing us, the audience, to those same systems and rules. However, as things tend to do in these kinds of shows, things soon take a dark turn as Kirito finds he is unable to log out of the game. Then, an evil wizard, then an evil programmer appears before everyone and tells them that the reason they aren't able to log out of the game isn't a bug, but a feature. The only way out is to beat the final level of the game, and to make matters worse,
if you die in the game, you die for real.
From here we learn more about the world that the game is set in, and how exactly people are coping with being trapped in a death game, covering topics such as depression, death, and suicide. Kirito even starts to come out of his shell and make some real lifelong friends. Then everyone dies, and Kirito goes into a downward spiral of depression, only to be pulled out of it by a message left by his now long dead girlfriend, telling him to keep fighting.
However, the real fight was still ahead.
The fight for me to make my way through the rest of this series. Instead of continuing to explore these darker, more human themes, it becomes a generic harem anime, with every other episode seemingly introducing a new girl with neon hair to fawn over Kirito. The scenes with these new girls are full of butt shots, lingering camera angles, and I kid you not, tentacles.
None of this was in the first 3 episodes.
It's almost as if the creator ran out of ideas for a show and just started making up cute girls to put in compromising situations in order to pander to an audience of horny teenagers. Luckily for me, it seems that they ran out of ideas yet again and ended the story 25 levels before they originally planned, and everyone is finally able to log out.
That's weird. Why are there 11 more episodes?
Why are there 11 more episodes? The second arc of Sword Art Online sees our main hero traveling back into a new VR MMO based off the first game, because that went so well the first time, and now he's trying to rescue his comatose wifey from a businessman who wants to marry her, while she's still in a coma.
This is so fucking stupid.
It follows the same idea as the first arc, but this time with the added twist of Kirito's sister wanting to fuck him. This is the central drama of this entire arc, and it's almost the worst thing ever. Then the worst thing ever happens, and we cap off this adventure with sexual assault. I'm not opposed to evil people doing evil things, but this scene is still shot in a way that's supposed to be titillating for the audience, which undermines any impact this part of the show could have had. Apparently I'm the outcast here because Sword Art Online went on with great success, spawning a second season with a third on the way, a spin-off, a movie, a live-action adaptation, many video games, and shows no signs of slowing down.
I never watched the second season of Sword Art Online, which I think makes me the perfect person to talk about Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet, the newest SAO video game based on the second season of the anime. Oh, fuck, I'm gonna have to watch the second season now.
Alright, season watched, let's get into this. Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet takes place inside the VR MMO known as Gun Gale Online. But before we can start playing, it's time for us to create our very own cotton candy colored cutie. With our avatar set, we log into GGO and meet up with our friend Kureya, who asks us to help her win some sweet loot in the upcoming tournament. Seeing as we're a level 1 character who has never played before, it only makes sense that we would agree to help our friend compete against the game's top players. So we grab a gun and make our way to the tutorial so we can get a grasp on how things work. Then the game gives us control of our characters and, these controls are, actually pretty good.
I don't know why, I was just expecting them to be crap.
The game is a third-person shooter with RPG elements such as skills and levels. This is a pretty drastic departure from previous SAO games, which were all RPGs. Don't ask me how I know this. It's not like I played them or anything. I think the developers were aware that people who primarily play RPGs might be turned off by the game's sudden change of genre. So to compensate for this, there's an auto-aim mode that can easily be toggled on and off depending on your preference. I actually like this. The only other game I've played that uses a system like this is Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash. Don't judge me. After the tutorial, we decide to take on that tournament headfirst, and I have no idea what the rules are. We are seemingly fighting robots down a straight hallway, but then we run into another player named Itsuki who doesn't fight us, and instead makes us a deal that if we fight the robot ahead, he will let us go. So we do, and then 10 minutes into the game, we find the rarest item in the entire world, a boy. But lurking in the shadows is Kirito, who tries to murder us and take the boy for himself. But this is our boy, and he can't have him. I got to design this character too, and in hindsight, if I had known that I could have just created my cutie here as an AI companion, I probably would have made myself the main character, but instead, now I'm just the side character in my own story. This makes the game really weird actually. It was clearly intended to be played with a male character and a female companion, because literally everyone in the game comments on how much of a cutie my boy robot is. Even the womanizer characters are in love with him, and it's fucking great. This guy tries to steal him from me on 3 different occasions. This boy is our new AI assistant, and he is the key to opening the next big dungeon in the game. You'd think the creators of Gun Gale Online wouldn't lock a whole section of the game behind such a rare item, but this is based on the same game where if you died, they'd microwave your brain. Suddenly, we're the most popular player to roam the earth, and everyone wants to talk to us.
See, I think you may have misunderstood me.
When I say everyone wants to talk to us, I mean everyone wants to talk to us. The next 2 hours are spent reading dialogue and having rules and systems explained to us. I was so bored the entire time I was reading all this crap, but was afraid that if I skipped anything, I'd miss out on something important.
Guess what? I didn't miss out on anything important because I'm not even sure there's a story in this game.
During our 2 hours of dialogue, we are recruited by Kirito and his gang of girlies because we have the key to the next area and obviously he wants in. Everyone is more than happy to let me join the harem though, because as they put it, there aren't many girls that play Gun Gale Online. I'm gonna have to call bullshit because of the 23 NPCs you can have in your party, 16 of them are female. That's an overwhelming majority. You've got main girl, side girls, childhood best friend girl, girl who wants to fuck her brother, girl with PTSD, and even girl who died. So if you are worried there wouldn't be a waifu for you, fear not, young weeb. Fatal Bullet has you covered. Even Itsuki, the guy who could have killed us during the tournament, leaves his guild and joins ours at the drop of a hat. I'm not so sure about this guy though. Every time I talk to him, he tells me not to trust him and that he's lying to me, and then when confronted with that, he tells me he was just joking.
Oh well, welcome to the orgy, bud.
From here, the game kind of just spins its wheels for the next 3/4 of its runtime. We're tasked with collecting new parts for our AI buddy in order to make him better, which is desperately needed because he sucks. He's almost unbearably positive about everything and gets a solid 50% of what he tells you wrong. But for some reason, everybody still loves him. I hope that mission sounds intriguing because that's the next 10 hours of this game. To call it repetitive would be a compliment. All the enemies are just copy-pasted between areas. There's like 4 bosses that they just reuse with a new color scheme over and over again. Just look at how many times I fight this giant robot. To praise the game for a bit, even though the tasks were repetitive, the gameplay was interesting enough to keep me from totally losing interest. At least, I think that's praise. Okay, here's a better one. I'm a sucker for collecting things, especially cosmetic items, and this game had no shortage of cute vanity items for me to dress my character in. As for the gunplay, it isn't anything to write home about, but there is a large variety of weapons to use, and even within those weapon types, they can function differently. However, I still found the best strategy was to get a rifle with an obscenely large magazine and just hold down the right trigger until everything was dead. This got me through the entire game with no problems. Even without this strategy, I don't think I would have had any issues to begin with, because the AI in this game has a tendency to be downright laughable. Sometimes it feels like they weren't even trying to hit me. This goes double for the friendly AI. There were times where all I needed them to do was revive me and they'd just stand around waiting and staring at me. Do something! While we're on the topic of friendly AI, as you travel with them, you'll gain what's referred to as affinity. Basically, once you've gained enough of it, you can take your favorite cutie back to your room and lay in bed next to her. Hot damn, I don't know if I can show this on YouTube. If you continue to raise that meter, you'll be able to put her in her very own compromising situation. If nothing else, this is true to the anime. Then suddenly and randomly, this game remembers it's based off a pre-existing plot. If you haven't seen the third arc of Sword Art Online, the premise is that a mysterious villain is going around killing people in the game, and when he does, they die for real. Shocking, I know. Kirito is tasked by the government with finding out who the killer is and stopping him. It's basically a murder mystery, but the mystery is kind of ruined by the opening of the show where they spoil who the killer is by transitioning between the two characters. The game realizes that they still have to cover this aspect of the show and forces you to play as Kirito, because who wants to play as their own original character when you can play as everyone's favorite protag Kirito?
Oh, what's this? No one wants to play as Kirito.
Well, luckily they thought of that too, because while you'd think it would take a while to track down the in-game serial killer known as Death Gun, it just boils down to 2 one-on-one fights, and then a third one-on-one fight with Death Gun, and then it's over.
This entire arc of the anime is covered in about 40 minutes, about 7 of which is actual gameplay.
And they quickly move past that, and we barely talk about it again.
Alright, heads up. I'm about to spoil the entire ending of this game, so if you care about that kind of thing, you really shouldn't, because there isn't a whole lot to spoil. But last warning.
All of our friends get sick of the fact that we've been hanging around with Kirito so much, so they bail on us. Shortly afterwards, we get a message from Death Gun. However, since we already did the Kirito stuff, we know that Death Gun has been captured and that this has to be someone else. So let's just ignore that for a bit. Not Death Gun sends a nerve gear to our house and tells us to put it on or all of our friends will die. It's at this point that every decision we have made in this game comes to a head, and the fate of our friends hangs in the balance. I'm just kidding. This game literally just asks us who we want to save, and considering it's a choice between a friend we've supposedly known our whole life, or the mysterious girl we barely know anything about, it wasn't that hard to choose. We're then whisked away into a strange world that sort of looks exactly like the world we were just in, and have to fight a giant boss. And should we fail and die in the game? Yeah, you know how this works by now. Things are looking good until we take a big hit, so the mysterious girl sacrifices herself to save us from a fatal blow. A fatal bullet, if you will, and dies. Our robot boy remembers he is a robot, and hacks this game to get in contact with the rest of our friends, and with our combined strength, we kill the giant boss.
Oh, this next part doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I am gonna do my best.
As I previously stated, it wasn't Death Gun who called us here. Shocker, I know. The real mastermind behind this was Taipan.
Who? I never mentioned this character before. Maybe that's because he only has like 3 lines in the entire game.
He's the other guy who was with Itsuki at the very start of the game. Turns out Taipan works for the company that makes this game and has been deleting people that he doesn't like. And since Itsuki left his guild for ours, he doesn't like us. He still somehow gets Itsuki on board and convinces him to go along with his attempted murder plan. If those motivations don't make a whole lot of sense to you, you haven't seen anything yet. So why did Itsuki agree to almost have us murdered? Well, he wanted us to only be friends with him, so he tricked us into this death game so that he could sacrifice himself in order to prove that he is a better friend than everyone else. And when our real friends show up to save us, he's super bummed that we have other real friends. So he decides to kill us anyway, but at the last second the game crashes and he gets away. I give up. I can't make sense of this. The game ends on a pretty somber note with the villain getting away, and then the credits roll.
That's super disappointing. I wonder if I did something wrong.
Yep, I did. In order to get the true ending of the game, you need to grind your affinity ranks up with pretty much every character, and then do it again as Kirito.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that.
By the time the credits had rolled, my highest affinity was level 2 of 4, and that was on one character. Looking at other people's footage of the true ending, it's not worth it. Itsuki still gets away, but this time no one dies, and we all have a party to celebrate. I almost like the bad ending better.
So, Fatal Bullet. It's a game, it's based off Sword Art Online, and that's about all I really have to say about it. It has some neat ideas, but its execution just fails for me every time.
The gameplay loop is interesting enough at the start, but you're quickly overwhelmed with all these pointless dialogue sections that don't seek to move the plot forward or give depth to any of the characters. And when the game finally does give you control, what it gives you isn't really worth it.
Maybe I'm just not seeing things correctly. Luckily, I just got this fancy VR contraption, so let's give this a shot in another dimension. Link, start!
What are you waiting for? Get undressed. Don't just sit there. It's embarrassing.
I understand now. I get it. Ugh.
Thanks for watching my video. If you're a fan of Sword Art Online, you probably hated it. In which case, feel free to tell me how much you want me to kill myself down in the comments. We all know how much that works. If you liked it, and assuming it hasn't been taken down because of all the clips I used, maybe give that subscribe button a nice little click. Till next time, peace.